What learning methods?
That's all interesting to read about, isn't it? What was the space stuff about?
Like small,
They're doing those solar cells to send microchips that are also like ships to the other stars.
So like micro probes.
Yeah, like just that chip.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what was the other thing you said? Dinosaurs. Yeah, what was it? The extinction.
The theory of how they went extinct.
Yeah, there's a few theories, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's not exactly clear. What theories did they have in the reading?
Iridium, which is the asteroid.
The asteroid, yeah.
And just gradual.
Gradual. Yeah.
Mostly just those two, due to planets.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, are we ready to start? No, sorry, the real question is, am I ready to start? I don't know just yet. Did you just finish the exam?
No.
Group tutorial.
With Colin?
Yeah.
So what did you do in that one?
The Bradford essay.
Bradford?
Yeah, yesterday, the one we did yesterday.
Why did you do that in the group tutorial?
Just in case you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like he wasn't prepared and he wanted to do something. Anyways, how is the Bradford? It's okay?
I mean, Dunkers is alright, but the whole thing I don't understand. I don't understand it, like the actual
The calculations are okay.
experiment.
Alright. We better get started now. Let me get my stuff. I think you have this already, but just in case you don't, I printed them again. Can you take one and pass it along? I think you have this already, Dorian, when I printed them out last few weeks ago, but if you don't, there it is there. Oh. I know, Sac Diego, be good for this class. I don't have any energy left to deal with the two of you. Alright. Okay, so we're talking about writing the conclusion for the essay. Some guidelines. You should look at the future. So what I mean is, when you write your conclusion, make sure you include something that can be done in the future. Let's have an example. Why do you think it's useful to know more about the physics of rugby? What is something useful in the future that could be done?
To increase the health of the players.
Good, okay. So a better understanding of the physics of rugby in your essay would lead to a better understanding of health policies, perhaps, or healthcare treatment.
And the causes of
Oh,
injuries.
yeah, good, okay, I like this. Anything else?
Sports
New
science.
techniques.
Good. This could lead into further research about new techniques. Good. I like it. Anything else? You were going to say something, Ryan?
No, sports science.
Yeah, but give me a specific example.
For training.
That's okay. If you can't think of one off the top of your head, that's okay. Harry or Zach, do you have any future examples you can think of? Or Gina, do you have any future examples you can think of? So, Diego gave us future studies of health. Dorian, you said future techniques perhaps could be developed. Give me one more example. Say again? Training, yep. Different training techniques, yep. Good, okay. So you understand what I mean when I say to look at the future.
Mm-hmm.
You should summarize the essay, but each summary point must be shown to link with the aim. So, Dorian, what did you say your aim was in your essay?
And show how physics are heavily involved in sports and how by having the knowledge and understanding of applying such concepts can ultimately help one to achieve a better performance in the game.
So you might even want to change your aim to make your conclusion easier, because it means when you write your summary conclusion at the end, each paragraph, when you write a sentence on that paragraph, you need to show how it links to your aim and how your aim was achieved. Do you know? So, for example, Lynn, what did you say your aim was?
My aim is to, let me see, so, understanding the physics knowledge by using physics explanation to describe phenomena from Rabi match.
Okay, so you see, if you look at Lynn's aim, okay, Lynn's aim was all about understanding, right? You wrote how many paragraphs? Roughly. Three paragraphs. Okay. What did you talk about in the first paragraph?
My first
What was the topic?
is the pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So, what Lynn would need to do in the conclusion is he would have to write a sentence that summarizes his first paragraph. Okay? And then he has to show how this links back to the aim, which is increased understanding. So Lynn could say something like, first, an examination of pressure, its definition, and an example was given. And it was shown that pressure is very important because if it's too high, it could break the player's bones. This improved understanding was beneficial and achieves the aim. Or something like this. You have to do two things. You have to summarize and then link it back to the aim. Yeah? And the conclusion should be about 350 words. Let me give you an example. Here's a good example. After looking at the future of nuclear energy, the writer now begins to summarize. Here's an example of their aim. So in this example, the aim was research and summarize the importance of nuclear physics for the future of clean energy. That was the aim, right? Here's an example of something they wrote in the conclusion. Firstly, we saw how Einstein's famous equation can be interpreted and thus understand the huge potential energy atomic physics can unleash. So this summarized what they did in the first paragraph, which was Einstein's equation, and we link it to the aim because we say there are huge potential in this study for energy. And so we've shown why it's important. Because remember, we said research and summarize the importance. Do you understand? Yeah? Here's a bad example. In this essay I learned many things and now have a deeper understanding of the importance of physics in our day-to-day life. Bad sentence. Bad sentence. Now, yes, this seems stupid. I know it seems stupid to spend 350 words summarizing 800 words after you spent 350 words writing the introduction of what you're about to write. I know, it seems stupid. Look, you write your introduction. How big is that? 350 words. In the introduction, you talk about what you write in the main body. How big is the main body? About 800. And then at the end, you write 350 words where you talk about the 800 words. So you are writing 700 words to talk about 800 words. I didn't design this coursework. I don't like this coursework, but this is how NCUK marks it. A common mistake students make is this. They make the main body too big. Maybe they make it like 1,000 words because they think they should. You know, and then maybe they make like 100 here and 100 here. Now this is very bad. You lose a lot of marks for doing this. Because let's look at how the marks work for this essay. Introduction is worth how many marks? 20. 20 marks. What do you need to get the 20 marks in your introduction? This forms a focused and purposeful backbone to the essay. Now, you understand what a backbone is, right? Yes. So, the reason I ask you to write one sentence on each paragraph you're about to write is so that you can have a structure, a backbone. Clear, detailed, specific aims and objectives are provided. I asked you to do that. You should do that. Relevant background provides a clear context. So, this is where you could write your hook. You remember? If you want to. It's not easy to write a good hook, but you need those 3 things to get top marks for the introduction. Okay? So Dorian, it makes it easier for me to give you the marks if you very clearly laid out explicitly the aims and objectives. You know, then I can just go, yep, she's got them, so that's done. Okay, how many marks for the main body? What, 40%. What do you need in your main body? Number 1, you need a discussion developed logically. So I think you all have this. For example, you could talk about the physics, give definitions, and then give examples, you know, and then you could move into something else. Well thought out, relevant and complete. So everybody's was relevant, you know. Everybody is talking only about the physics and the rugby. You're not talking about something you shouldn't be. So that's good. Now this is where you might have some difficulty. The information comes from a wide range of sources. So if you just have 6 websites as your reference, that's bad. You need to have some websites, some PDFs, some books, some articles, maybe even one YouTube video. You know, a wide range of sources is what I need for top marks. There is an accurate and thorough analysis of material. Now, you can help your analysis by looking at the examples. This shows that you're kind of, what can I say, probing what you're talking about. The work displays a good understanding of the subject. I think everybody's understanding of physics here is pretty good, so that's fine. Conclusion, how many marks? 20. A concise summary of the essay. So, this is what I was saying about Lynn example earlier. I recommend 1 sentence or 2 per paragraph as a summary. So for every 1 paragraph you have, you should have 1 or 2 sentences that summarize that paragraph and link it to the aim. Future perspective is considered. I want at least 1 future perspective considered. So you've given me some examples. 20 marks. And then at the very bottom, if you look up, at the very bottom you should have your references. And how many marks is that? 20. Now, which section is the biggest? The main body, right? But even though it's the biggest, don't think that it should be the best. It's only 40 marks after all. You get 40 marks for the introduction and the conclusion. And you get 20 marks for doing your referencing correctly. So, like I said, the biggest mistake students make is they spend a lot of time on the main body, they do a stupid introduction, they do a stupid conclusion, and their references are terrible or don't exist. And they think, oh, well, I wrote a lot in the main body, so I should be okay. I should get like a B or something, you know. Like, no. If you do an excellent main body, but make a pig's dinner or a dog's dinner of this, then maybe you'll only get a D. Okay? So the introduction and the conclusion is as important as the main body. And don't forget about the referencing, because that's worth 20%. And you all should be experts at referencing because you do it in the AP, don't you?
No.
What do you mean, no? Don't you do referencing in the AP?
No.
Bibliography, how to reference. Ah, come on, don't give me this, Diego. You must do it with somebody.
We've done like.
Are you telling me nobody has taught you how to reference?
Yeah, we have, but only like 2 classes.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing.
Okay, that's enough to be an expert. Well, you know, alphabetical order,
Yeah, yeah.
particular format,
But that's
blah, blah, blah.
already done in the automatic.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would you put a quote in your conclusion?
I don't like quotes in essays. I don't. It's so lame. Do you know this word?
Kind of like taking someone else's.
No, it's cheesy. It's lame. You know? Do you get what I'm saying when I say this word lame? Do you know
Kind
this
of,
word?
yeah, kind of.
Do you know this word lame? What's another word for it? Cliched, yeah. It's so blah. You know. I know, yeah, I don't want like. And we'll finish on a quote by Nikola Tesla or something, you know, like. Yeah, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. I don't know. Really, for me, quotes. In my opinion, the only time that's suitable to use a quote in an academic context, really, is as an icebreaker for a presentation. That's the only time I find quotes to work. Or as a closing remark on a presentation. So, like, for example, I do the active listening sometimes. Do you know the active listening presentation? Have you heard about this in the AP, guys? No? In semester 2, you'll have to do a very special class called active listening. This is a class where me or Lorraine presents on a topic for 15 minutes, and then you have to summarize in like 90 minutes the main ideas of the presentation. So, Diego, I like to start or finish these presentations with a funny kind of quote, just to kind of either have a nice intro or exit at the end. But I can't think of any other situation where a quote really works well. Because, you know, how do you end a presentation? You know, you can't just say the end and then nod and walk off, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Questions?
Yeah, just a funny little quote at the end wraps it up nicely. So, at the back, to help you practice, what you have at the top, you should write down what your aim was. Okay? And then, how many paragraphs have you got, Diego?
I have 4 plus a small one explaining.
Fine, okay, so 5.
Yeah.
So what you should have is, Diego,
Yeah.
5 good, long, summary sentences that show a link back to the aim. How many paragraphs do you have, Harry?
4.
Okay. You might want to have 2 sentences for each. 2 short sentences for each paragraph. Dorian, what have you got? How many paragraphs? You have long paragraphs, don't you? Yeah. So you might want to have 2 short sentences for each, 2 or 3 short sentences for each paragraph as a summary, showing the link back to the end. Do you understand? Now look, after you do this, the last thing to do is I'm going to give you a checklist. Do you know what a checklist is?
Yeah, one.
Yeah. Where you can check you have everything ready in your essay. You know, like, do you have references? Yes. Do you have diagrams? Yes. Is the font correct? Yes. Did you use Time New Romans correct? You know, you can check everything off before you submit it. And how about we'll make the submission day, well, what can we agree? Can we agree a day on the submission?
Last day,
The last day? What time?
12, like 24 minutes.
Really? The last day at midnight? Really? You're going to push it all the way to this?
Why not?
Well, if we can get agreement on this, is that what you want?
I just said it
Last
as
day
a
is like
joke.
what, 20th?
Is that Friday the 20th?
I said it as a joke.
I don't. Look, I want 100% agreement on what would be an acceptable deadline. Because I don't want people afterwards going, well, I couldn't have time to submit it. So I want a full class agreement on what's an acceptable deadline. So what's an acceptable deadline? And if it's the last day at midnight, fine, I don't care. Because I'm not going to correct it until after the holidays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? Midnight on the last day.
Can it be after that?
Can it be? No, because I want a unanimous agreement on a deadline, you see,
Okay, yeah. Friday the 20th?
at midnight.
22:59.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the email has to get...
No.
No, I mean just...
No, it's a Moodle link.
Oh,
You
perfect.
submit by Moodle.
Perfect.
And the link will close.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can do 23:59. I think the latest I can do is 23:55.
Why 55?
Because I think it goes in multiples of 5.
Or 24 zeros back.
No, that would be.
No, that'd be the next day.
Yeah, next day, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that might confuse people then. So,
Okay, yeah, 55 then.
okay, so 23:55 on the last day then. Fine.
Last 5
Okay.
minutes.
That gives you plenty of time to make a wonderful essay.
Can we send it before?
Yeah, absolutely. You can be emailing me to get feedback, questions, my opinions on graphs or whatever. So like if you found a graph or you made a graph or a diagram and you said like, should I have this in the essay? You know, send it on to me, I'll give you my opinion. I could say it's suitable or not, you know. Sometimes people have very suitable diagrams and sometimes people just have pictures of like rugby players or whatever, you know. So diagrams are useful because it helps the reader, you know, it can be a little bit much if you're just reading text. But you don't want a diagram just to have a diagram. It needs to be useful to the reader, you know. Like, you had some vector diagrams, didn't you? Yeah, and did anyone else have diagrams? Not yet. Yeah. Now, yeah, you can include a diagram you found on the internet, but you know, you get more bonus points, so to speak, from me if you have your own diagram that you made. Anybody can copy a diagram from the internet, you know, but if you spend the time to sit down and make a diagram, even if it's a stick man kicking a ball, you know, I would value that more than a diagram you get from the internet. Okay? It's not an art competition, alright? That's not what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so look, I'll give you time to start working on your conclusion now. We've got about 20-ish minutes left. You can get a start on the conclusion. And if you like, I would love if you could submit it next week. Because I don't really think next week we'll have any class time on this. I'm just going to give you the checklist to take home. Okay? So if you can submit it next week. Alright, get a start on this.